Well, hey everyone, it's andrewbreault, and in this tutorial I am going to be showing you how to create a custom bullet journal page that you can put into your Happy Planner, or you can do like I did and just coil bind it and make a coil bound book that has bullet journal pages in it. So as you can see here, we've got a page all set up with hundreds of little dots all over it, and I'm going to show you how easy it was. It's a little bit time consuming, but very, very simple to create this page. Alright, so let's go ahead and close out of this and that, and we're going to go ahead and open up a new Microsoft Publisher document, choose a blank page size. And the way that I did this is we need to create a grid that shows us where to put all of the bullets on the page. And so I was poking around inside of Publisher and found a really awesome way to do this. And it's underneath the Page Design tab. So go there, and you're going to go to Grids, and it's called Grid and Baseline Guides. So go ahead and click on that, and now it gives us this option to put in grid guides and make columns and rows, and it tells how many columns do we want, how many rows do we want. So all I needed to figure out was how I wanted, like where I wanted the bullets to be, like how far apart. And I haven't actually measured a bullet journal, but just from eyeballing it, it looks like they're about 1/4 of an inch apart. So we have a 1/2 inch margin all the way around our page, which means if the page is 8.5 inches wide, then we have 7.5 inches between this margin line and this margin line. So that would give us 30 columns, right? 30 columns, that would be 1/4 inch. And then tall between this top margin and the bottom margin is 10 inches because it's an 11-inch page, 1/2 inch margin top and bottom. So that is 40 rows. And I'm going to go ahead and tell the spacing to be 0 and say OK. And now we have this massive grid, and if I zoom in, I'm going to hold down the Control key on my keyboard, and I'm going to use the little wheel on my mouse to scroll in, and now I can see that the grids are set up, or the lines are all set up at the 1/4 inch marks. See, there's the 2, so there's 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2.75, and 3. And then we can look up and down here. It's at every 1/4 inch there is a guide. Or not a guide, but like a margin line, I guess you could say. Alright, so we've got our grid. Now, how do we get the bullets in there? So how I did that, I'm going to scroll up to the top of the page, make sure we're right here in the top left-hand corner. We'll zoom in even a little bit closer. How's that? Make this a little bit easier to see. I'm going to go ahead and go to the Home tab and put in a text box. Now, it doesn't really matter how big the text box is. It can be relatively small, like so. But I'm going to go ahead and make sure that from the text box tools on the Format tab here that we are centered up. We're right in the center. Now, back at the Home, not the Home tab, at the Insert tab, we're going to insert a symbol, and I'm going to find, if it's not already showing up here, you might have to say more symbols, but I'm just going to find, let's hover over it there, bullet operator. Go ahead and put that in. Now we're going to highlight. You could probably use a period for this too. I've not tried this. Let's try it. We're going to put in a period, and then I'm going to highlight it. Go back to the Home tab, and we're gonna jump in here. Let's make it 20 point. So this is a little bit different than what I did. The bullets work exactly the same way. They do exactly the same thing. But now this is a little bit lower inside of the text box, and that's it. But this will work just fine. Actually, let's jump this up even a little bit larger. Let's go 24 points on it. Alright, next I'm going to take and color this a really light gray. And I am going to go over to the Drawing Tools Format tab, say Text Wrap and None. This is a very important step. If you did not have that turned on, then the bullets would not stay in the correct position. Alright, so now we need to get this into the correct position, so I'm just going to click and drag, and we're going to put this relatively, try to center it up between these two lines. You can use your arrow keys to bump it exactly where you want it. Now holding down the Control and Shift key at the same time, we just click and drag, and there we go. And we continue this all the way across the row. Click and drag until it bumps right into the center, and I'm holding down the Control and Shift key at the same time. Click and drag these out. It will exactly center up. When it hits center, you'll see it because the blue line will light up on the center. So just continue this all the way across the row. Alright, now that we have our top row done, we can hit Control A on our keyboard and it will select every single one of those text boxes that we just put together. And now with them all selected, once again, holding down Control and Shift, we can click and drag down. And now this one is not going to light up, because if we brought it down to where it lights up, look what happens. The bullet is way off point. So we need to use our arrow key and bump this right to where we want it to be so it's centered up. If I hold down Control, I can zoom in a little bit closer and see that I can get it right where I want it to be. And with it this close, I would stay this close, hold down Control and Shift again, drag the next one out. There we go. We're just kind of eyeballing. If I make sure that I'm grabbing it from right in the center, I know if I let go right about here, it's going to be all centered up. Alright, now that we have 4 rows in, I'm going to zoom back out just a little ways. I'm going to hit Control A again, this time to select all 4 rows of bullets, and I'm going to go over here to the Drawing Tools format and say Group right here. Now we've just grouped all 4 rows as one giant group. It makes it a whole lot easier to move all of these around, and all we have to do, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in nice and close here, click on the top one, Control and Shift at the same time, grab that top bullet and pull it down till it's centered 1 row below where we left off. We can use the arrow keys to bump it just to make sure it's right where we want it to be. Scroll down the page, make sure we're going 1, 2, 3, and 4, so we want to grab this one. And just continue this all the way down the page using the arrow keys to center up. We're just using up and down arrows here just so we can center these up. Keep on doing that until the entire page is filled in with dots. Alright, so I got down to the end and realized I have 1 more row of dots to put in. I'm not sure if I just didn't copy one of my rows perfectly. I was trying to look through and see if I did, because I thought I did my math right and it should have equaled, this last row should have been in place. Don't know why that happened. So if that happens, you can just click a group and go up to the Format tab under Drawing Tools, say Ungroup, and now I'm just going to click and drag over top of this bottom row right here, and you might have to go up just a little bit. Okay, maybe just a little bit higher. There we go. I'm just looking to copy this very bottom row, and I can actually go ahead and group those just so I can make sure. I'm just grabbing one group here and then using the up and down arrow keys just to bump those into place. Alright, And now we have an entire page of dots everywhere, almost exactly at 1/4 of an inch. The last thing that I do, now that we have one page done, we can go ahead and just copy this. So we can right click on the page and say insert a duplicate page. It takes a minute for the computer to process it because there's a lot of dots and text boxes to copy. And so it may take a second for your computer to process all of that. But now we've got 2 different pages, so we can print front to back, and we'll have dots on both sides of the page. Now, if you're punching the page for your Happy Planner, or you are going to coil bind it, typically on the bind edge, you're going to need a little bit of extra room, just so you don't get your dots too close to the edge. So one thing that I like to do is from the full page view, I'm going to hit Control A. It selects all of the boxes on the page. We'll go over to the Format tab, and I will tell it to ungroup. It takes, once again, it takes a second for the computer to process this. There's a lot. Oh, whoops, I said group, not ungroup. Let's ungroup it, and then we're going to ungroup it again. So there we go. We've now ungrouped. We should have ungrouped the entire page. And now I'm going to click and drag, and I'm just going to attempt to select this first row. And actually I'm on the wrong page for this, but that's okay. So we're on page 2, and this should be page 1. There we go. I've just selected this first column, and I'm just going to delete those out of there. And I'm actually going to move page 2 up above page 1 because this is going to be the front of the page, so that makes this the bind edge over here. And we just got rid of a row of dots. On page 2, we want to do it on the opposite side of the page. So Control A, select everything, go over to the Format tab, ungroup. We'll hit the ungroup this time. There we go. And once again, my computer's having a hard time processing what I've done here because there's so much going on the page. Select that entire column and delete them out, because now this is the back side of the page, so this over here is the bind edge. With that all done, we're done. This is ready to go. We're ready to print. The last thing I would do, just because the computer's having a hard time processing everything within Publisher with all those text box and dots all over the page, it's trying to figure out what I'm doing, I would go to the Save As tab. We'll go ahead and choose a folder where we want to save, and I will make this a PDF, and we'll just call it Bullet Journal Pages. I've already got one made, so I'll just overwrite that. So I'll click on it, go ahead and say save, and yes. Give it a second to pull it up, and there we go. We've got our PDF with all of our bullets all over the page. There you go. A bullet page insert for your Happy Planner. Now all you have to do is punch the page, and for that, I'm going to go out here. I went to, I think it was Staples. Go to staples.com and search for the Arc Punch. And this is the punch that we use for our Happy Planner, to punch for the Happy Planner. And we picked ours up at Staples. It is a little bit heavier duty than what I've found anywhere else, and had really good reviews on it. The one thing with this punch is that it does not punch the page as deep as what the Happy Planner is already punched. So in other words, this punch goes in about like this far, and the Happy Planner one goes in to about here, so the pages punch a little bit further. So to fix that, what we did is punched the pages and then just trimmed a little bit off of the edge of the page over here. So if you have a rotary cutter, or if you're having a whole bunch of pages printed at one time at a local print shop, usually they have a big cutter and they can shave off about 3/16 of an inch off of the edge, and then when you insert this into your Happy Planner, the pages will match up. Hey guys, if you loved this video, please subscribe to the channel, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.